Egyptian Diary Part 6 in Forge of Empires. In the meantime, the ground city on the Nile produces grain and pottery in 4 production facilities. These continue to be paid with war loot from rebellious neighboring cities. After a long period of intensive production, the city now has a considerable stock of cultural goods. This is a very good basis for further growth. First of all, space is needed for this. Although it has served very well for a long time, today a grain farm has to make way. In addition, another plot of land will be purchased. But really only one, because you can see that just like in the beginning with the grain, the pottery is now also losing value. The land is becoming more and more expensive. The free space is now greened. It is a very extensive greening project. 24 potted plants finally increase the diplomatic value to a level that the Egyptians are then prepared to open up new technologies in exchange for grain and pottery. These are the chariot production building and multi-story houses. We remember that Nefertiti demanded that multi-story houses be built because a city would then look more like a metropolis. The first multi-story house can now be built. As soon as this is finished, I will need to get the inhabitants of a clay hut to move into the new building. Fortunately, there are no tenant rights in ancient Egypt. Besides, they should be happy to move into a modern house as first-time tenants. So I can tear down the clay hut and build another multi-story apartment building instead. Even the start of construction work on this second house makes Nefertiti so happy that she gives me a self-aid kit for my hometown and tools to remove these annoying obstacles here. In addition, I will also receive 75 goods for my hometown. Nefertiti really is a generous patron. This spurs me on to do much more for her. As she likes multi-story houses so much, she will get these modern buildings along the entire main street. What a thing to do for your queen. For that, these mud huts of tax evaders can finally be torn down. They had been a thorn in my side for a long time. Better some more potted plants than clay huts without road connection. This will also fulfill Nefertiti's next wish, 300 diplomacy. She should see a psychiatrist, though. I grant her every wish, and she thinks at least my good intentions are clear. Dear Queen, one may confidentially praise good employees. After all, we are well ahead of schedule. Nefertiti would like me to do even more for good appearance of the city and to build 2 water gardens. However, the Egyptians will only reveal this technology to me if I increase the diplomatic value even more beforehand. So I trade grain and pottery against the technology for cultivated palms and build them instead of potted plants. It's not easy to grow palm trees in the desert sand, even if the nearby Nile provides enough water for it. Cultivated palms have a much better effect on diplomacy than potted plants. But that alone isn't enough. These water gardens require a huge number of staff, so I have to work on the housing situation again. While the city dwellers are busy building and moving, the Nubians are allowed to raid 2 rebellious neighboring cities. The ongoing production of goods in this city always demands war loot. Lost units arising from this are immediately compensated. After successful completion of the initiated construction work, the diplomacy value is now sufficient to get the technology water gardens. However, the construction of the water gardens in the city, which is bursting at the seams, requires considerable remodeling measures. Fortunately, palm trees can be moved easily and there are no protests by the population like Friday for palm trees. Instead, the whole city is pleased with me about 2 new construction sites for the creation of water gardens. From them, Nefertiti expects more shadow in the city. I share this wish, and that is why the water gardens will remain standing and not immediately fall victim to the demolition excavator, despite the high staff commitment. The last shabby clay hut gives way to additional greenery, and then the city is attractive enough to recruit specialists for the cultivation of flowers via the embassy. This should become the region's new export hit. One of the 2 potteries will have to make way, and after another reconstruction, a flower farm can be built. Everything is going almost too well to be true at the moment. Only Queen Nefertiti is impatient as always. Now the flowers are not growing fast enough for her. For the construction of the flower farm, she at least provides tools for removing the impediments. At this point, I guess I'm a little too complacent. That's why I'm so unprepared when disaster strikes me full force. The first Nubian mission is still successful, but they should have taken a closer look at their second opponent. Especially the mounted camel archers are a harsh blow and lead to a total loss of the Nubians, who have been fighting so bravely up to now. The relief team sent out as a result also fails completely. The god of war, Horus, can no longer be relied upon. This is a heavy blow for the production. These Egyptians won't lift a finger if they don't get the war loot. For a long time the production is therefore cancelled. But I'm taking this calmly. There's still plenty of time before the deadline set by Nefertiti. Even this bitter defeat can be absorbed by the flourishing city. And there's no shortage of Theban for recruiting Nubians anyway. A ray of hope at the end of this chapter of the diary is the acquisition of 3 new expansions, taking advantage of the fact that flowers are very much in demand and that land can be bought cheaply. This creates the basis for the next steps that will soon be taken. Here again the tips of today summarized. It is a juggling with the buildings and constant rebuilding, always with the next goal in mind, either more population or more diplomacy. That's how you make progress step by step.